Welcome, everybody, to the May 6, 2024 regular Board of Aldermen meeting. Would everybody please join with me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? Flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, indivisible. Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka.
Here.
Alderwoman Tice.
Here.
Alderman Weggie.
Here.
Alderwoman Sims.
Here.
Alderman Luckmiller.
Here.
Alderman Gould.
Here.
Alderwoman Harder.
Here.
Alderman Erger.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you. Next up is the approval or amendment of the agenda. Do we have any changes? Any objection to approving the same by acclamation? Seeing none, will be so approved. Brings us down to item 4, announcements, appointments, proclamations, and recognitions. We have 2 items. The first up is the certified election results and the swearing in of alderpersons.
Okay, as certified by the St. Louis County Board of Elections Commission, the election results for the April 2nd, 2024 general municipal elections are as follows. Ward 1, Alderwoman Nancy Parker Tice, 357 cast votes. Ward 2, Alderwoman Sunny Sims, 265 cast votes. Ward 3, Alderman Jeff Gould, 328 cast votes. Ward 4, Alderman Sullivan Erger, 99 cast votes. Ward 4, Alderwoman Sharon Harder, 100 cast votes. Welcome.
My turn? It is your turn? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.
Okay. I don't think we have a mic for you, so you're going to need to speak up a little bit. Is there a
Why don't you guys
mic?
stand on this side of?
Okay.
Oh, look, that is really
Like
fancy.
this, is that okay?
Yeah.
Would you raise your right hand? I, Nancy Parker Tice.
I, Nancy Parker Tice,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Missouri
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Missouri
and the ordinances of the city of Brentwood,
and the ordinances of the city of Brentwood,
that I will faithfully demean myself in the office of Alderwoman,
that I will faithfully demean myself in the office of Alderwoman,
to which I was elected April 2nd, 2024.
to which I was elected April 2nd, 2024.
Congratulations. Look at my tie. I wore a St. Joe tie because she doesn't like St. Joe.
That's not true.
You're wearing
Go
green.
there.
Would you raise your right hand? I, Sunny Sims, do solemnly swear
I, Sunny Sims, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Missouri
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Missouri
and the ordinances of the city of Brentwood,
and the ordinances of the city of Brentwood,
that I will faithfully demean myself in the office of Alderwoman,
that I will faithfully demean myself in the offices of Alderwoman,
to which I was elected April 2nd, 2024.
to which I was elected April 2nd, 2024.
Congratulations. Would you raise your right hand? I, Jeff Gould, do solemnly swear
I, Jeff Gould, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Missouri
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Missouri
and the ordinances of the city of Brentwood,
and the ordinances of the city of Brentwood,
that I will faithfully demean myself in the office of Alderman,
that I will faithfully demean myself in the office of Alderman,
to which I was elected April 2nd, 2024.
to which I was elected April 2nd, 2024.
Congratulations.
Is it possible to zoom out? Because right now it's on filming fail. It's just the mayor. Like. No, you're front.
Oh, I'm fine.
It was a Zoom issue.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand? I, Sullivan
Now that I've
Erger,
been sworn in.
I, Sullivan Erger, do solemnly swear
I, Sullivan Erger, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Missouri
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Missouri
and the ordinances of the city of Brentwood,
and the ordinances of the city of Brentwood,
that I will faithfully demean myself in the office of Alderman,
that I faithfully will demean myself in the office of Alderman,
to which I was elected April 2nd, 2024.
to which I was elected April 2nd, 2024.
Congratulations. Right hand. I, Sharon Harder, do solemnly swear
I, Sharon Harder, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Missouri,
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Missouri
that I will faithfully, and the ordinances of the city of Brentwood,
and the ordinance of the city of Brentwood,
that I will faithfully demean myself in the office of Alderwoman,
and I will faithfully demean myself as an alderman,
to which I was elected.
to which I was elected
To which I was elected April 2nd, 2024.
April 2nd, 2024.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
okay.
you.
That is good. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Next up are the committee appointments, and I'm appointing 4 people to 4 different positions. You have those all in front of you, along with their supporting documents. The first up is Michelle Goad. I'm appointing her to the Board of Adjustment. Jack Shelton, yes, that Jack Shelton, to Planning and Zoning. Annie Perrine to the Sustainability Commission. And finally, the vacancy of the city treasurer, I'm appointing Ryan Tkach, if I'm saying it correctly. We're going with that. I just know him as Ryan. I spoke with Ryan quite a bit, and he's very excited about this. He has a wonderful background. I think he'll be a terrific city treasurer. One of their main jobs is to serve on the Police and Fire Pension Board. Alderman Plufka, did you have something?
Just to ask you whether or not you'd invite a motion to approve the
I would.
entire slate, or do you want to do it one at a time?
Let's do them all together, unless anybody's got an objection to that.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So I want to thank those 4 for their willingness to serve the city, and also all the alder people who won their election on April 2nd. Congratulations to you 5, and thank you for your willingness to serve the city and your respective constituents. That moves us down to citizen comments. Now is the time of the meeting where if you're in the audience and you care to address the board, now is the time to do so. All we ask is that you come to the podium, state your name and your address, and we will give you up to 3 minutes.
Good evening, all the people. My name is Andrew Johnson. I live at 2925 Brazos. I got the best view of the Brentwood Bound project. I've pretty much kept my lips tight for a while. There's been a lot of issues that, especially the first weekend, which was pure heck and mayhem. That was just no excuse. There should have been a better plan in place. But since then, it's gotten better. The traffic has improved, but there's still, I don't believe Brazos is quite wide enough. If we get a fire truck through there, and there's oncoming traffic to each other direction, there's not enough room for a fire truck with 2 vehicles on either side to get through there. It needs, for safety for that, and also as well as the safety of the people in the park and the new pavilion we just built. The biggest issue I just came across this weekend was I can't even sit on my front porch now. The smoke from marijuana is so prevalent all the time. I can't sit. I can't even open my house up to air it out on a nice beautiful day. There's several other issues I brought with talked with Steve about, and so most of them have already been a lot. The alleys is much improved. There's been no parking on there at all, and I thank you for addressing that. And that's all I have to say for right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for taking time to come up here and let us know about that. If you stick around tonight, I think you might hear some of the ways that the board plans on addressing the parking issues.
There's one more issue. There is a constant, on the weekends now, more and more often, there's constant vehicles parking at all hours of night.
A what?
In the parking lot at the pavilion. I've called, I think they probably know me by name now, over at the communications center from report people of kids running through the parking lot after dark, parking in there and doing whatever they do. And also now this weekend there was someone out there doing donuts in the parking lot. So I don't see that much, after the sun goes down, I don't see that much activity from the police coming by there or through there. So as much money we have invested in that, I feel there should be more.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Anyone online?
I don't see anybody online with their hand raised.
Okay, thank you. That brings us down to the mayor and alderman reports. First up is the mayor. I have no report. Alderman Plufka.
Thank you. I'm going to say this in my report time because I don't see that there's a city administrator's report. I don't see it on the agenda, but there were several items that were passed out of public safety last month, and several of them are on the agenda under new business, two of which are not, and I want to draw attention to them and at least get some indication as to where we stand. The one measure is we asked in the public safety meeting last month that the city come up with some plan for dealing with reservations for parking spaces for folks who have paid for and reserved either the hub or the event center. As I understand it, we do not have any kind of plan in place, and on the weekends, I would imagine, especially on the weekends, and we're 10 days from summer, it's going to be a difficult thing for folks who invited 20, 30 people to the event center or 30 people to the hub to expect that they can park anywhere close to that. Secondly, we also approved and asked for board consideration of a plan for more permanent parking on that Green Crescent area on the north side of Brazos, just east of Brentwood Boulevard, and to build a reserve parking lot. The information we got from Eric was that there would be 25 to 30 spots available in that space, and we wanted to utilize this technology of using these blocks where grass can grow through them, so that it would not be used all the time for parking, but in the times that it would be needed, rather than having people park on Brazos, rather than having them park on Pendleton, and in those other places, they would be able to park in that designated area. And yet, I don't see anything in this meeting. We're 20 days from summer, and we're going to start having one meeting a month instead of two, beginning in June. And I really don't understand why we aren't farther along. I'm assuming that we're going to have to do some sort of RFP with regard to the construction project of a more permanent parking lot. We're going to have to go through the process of approving that and going through all that. It's going to take multiple meetings, and I just don't see how we're going to get anything done before August at the rate that we're moving. And so I would really ask that we pick up the pace on this. And we all know what the problem is. We've all looked at what the problem is. We would like to get some things in place before too much longer. My second concern has to do with the water that comes down off of Van Mark and Dorothy north of the underpass at Manchester Road. I looked at it this weekend. It does still gather mud and debris down in that underpass, and it's been brought to the attention of staff a couple of different times, and it's been talked about in committee, but that's all it's been done. And I understand that there's a couple of different theories as to what needs to be done to alleviate this problem. Let's get this done. Enough talking about it. Let's get things accomplished, and let's move on this stuff rather than simply sort of talking about it and then kicking it down the road. I think it's irresponsible of us to consider all of these parking restrictions, which I'm in favor of, at the same time that we're not doing anything to permanently increase the parking capacity down there at the park. I think those things go hand in hand, and they ought to be developed at the same time in a comprehensive way. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Tice.
The Ward 1 meeting in May is going to be a week later, so it will be on Tuesday, May 21st.
Alderwoman Sims.
No report.
Alderman Weggie.
No report.
Alderman Lockmuller.
No report.
Alderman Gould.
I would just like to echo the support that Alderman Plufka has, especially for the water runoff from Van Mark Way. I think that's something that we've been talking about for a long time, that we should have some solutions quickly, and I would like to hope that by the next meeting, we have something to be presented to us. And I support the permanent parking down at the park as well.
Alderman Erger? No report. And Alderwoman Harder? No report. Thank you. Brings us down to City Administrator, and we have no City Administrator report. Next up is the consent agenda. We have 5 items. Are there any requests to have any of these 5 items removed or any questions about any of these 5 items? If not, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Alderman Erger?
Yes.
Motion carries by a vote of 8-0.
Great, thank you. On to old business, of which we have none, and that gets us down to new business. First up is resolution number 1501. And who is presenting on 1501? Dan?
Similar to what we did last year, or actually 2 years ago, but we constructed last year, was the repairs to the trail system. So what we did in this case, since we didn't have a defined scope, we did an RFQ. We looked at qualifications. We received 2 different proposals. Those were discussed at the last meeting. And since the selection of Castle, we had Castle do an actual fee proposal for the design services, which you'll see as an attachment. So you're looking at topographic, site survey, slope report, there's a design phase, there's construction administration services, there's both a flood study, simplified, and a flood study, if they had to do a full flood study, so, and then reimbursements. So what we're looking for is a resolution to contract with Castle to do the design part, and then later on, when we actually have the design, we can do a construction estimate and tell you what the construction cost will be as part of the design build.
Can we get a motion to approve the resolution 1501?
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Alderman Erger?
Yes.
Motion carries by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you. Next up is bill number 6494. Can we get a first read by title only, please?
Bill number 6494, an ordinance amending Title III of the Code of Ordinance, City of Brentwood, Missouri, and establishing revised no parking zone on the east side of High School Drive, north of Litzinger Road.
Me again.
Yep.
We brought this up at Public Safety. Whenever you are turning out of the alley, so first of all, this is over on Litzinger. It's the homes east of High School. Those on the north side, there's 10 homes. They actually have access to the rear of their homes through this alley. So the only way to get to their garage is to go through that alley. So the alley connects on the east side of High School, north of Litzinger. The challenge is that currently you can actually park a few cars on the east side between Litzinger Road and Litzinger Alley. So if you're looking from the driver's viewpoint to your left, looking to the south at northbound cars that are coming towards you, it's a short distance. It's roughly 145 feet as the car is approaching and gets in that crosswalk area. Ideally, you'd like over 200 feet. It would give you like 8 seconds to make that left-hand turn. We don't have it, so I worked the formula in reverse. You'll have about 5 seconds to make a decision where you want to turn left into oncoming traffic and get in front of it. To the right, which would be southbound's coming towards you, but you don't get in the southbound lane. You're strictly going around a car that's parked. It's not as challenging. You know, we could limit parking to the north of the alley, but I don't want to try to eliminate too many spots right away just because I know currently, you know, Mark Twain students are at McGrath. This is a challenging area just with parking in general until the other elementary school is online, and then some of these cars maybe aren't parked there. So what I was planning on doing was limiting what I had called out in the bill. And that would be between Litzinger Road and Litzinger Alley.
Okay.
No parking at any time.
Do we have any questions? Alderman Plufka?
Actually, I I didn't think there were going to be any
Oh,
questions.
Alderman
Sorry.
Lockmuller?
Affect the bill.
Well, actually, we do want to have a second read on this
I make
tonight.
a motion for a second read.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the motion for a second read? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read of Bill 6494 by title only, please?
Bill number 6494, second reading and consideration for adoption, an ordinance amending Title III of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, and establishing a revised no parking zone on the east side of High School Drive, north of Litzinger Road.
Great. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill number 6494 in ordinance form.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, somebody made it, and we have a second. Any discussion on that? Yes.
So I have a question that's sort of related to this area that was submitted by a resident. Along Harrison, it appears that there are people parking where there are no parking signs, and there are also some concerns about visibility coming out of Harrison and going south. That's not the scope of what we're doing tonight, so, but that might be something that could be looked at. I guess I might suggest that that stretch between the alley and Harrison be looked at for visibility for the safety of people turning south out of Harrison. And then my other question would be for the police. Could enforcement be a little stronger at Harrison as cars are parking in no parking zones? Because there is more street traffic going east along Harrison now, and when there are cars parked on both sides, it's not overly safe, so.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
To both of these issues, have we had any communication with the school district at all, and where have they been able to communicate with parents about where they should be parking and shouldn't be parking?
I have not. I don't know if the police have, but I just strictly went out there, took some measurements, looked at the AASHTO Green Book for civil engineering and transportation.
I mean, I'm supportive of this ordinance, but I agree with Alderwoman Tice that we may need to also extend this a little bit more. I think we should, if we have not already, contact the school district and see if they can put a communication out to parents.
Any other questions? If not, on the table is a motion to perfect Bill number 6494 in ordinance form. So with that, roll call.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller? Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder? Alderman Erger? By a vote of 8-0, Bill 6494 will become ordinance 5122.
Thank you. Next up is Bill number 6495. Can we get a first read by title only, please?
Bill number 6495, first reading. An ordinance amending Title III of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, and establishing revised no parking zone on the east side of Brazo Avenue between East Pendleton Avenue and Brentwood Boulevard.
Another one. So this one, there's a schematic in your packet with the memo. What we're wanting to do is limit parking on that. Starts at Brentwood Boulevard, so technically it's the south side of Brazo. Then as you're going into the curve, it becomes the east side, basically the park side. But limit parking on one side of the road to no parking between East Pendleton and Brentwood Boulevard. That way it doesn't matter which way police or fire, if they come East Pendleton or Brentwood Boulevard, there's no one on one side of the road, and you should be able to see better as well getting in and out of the driveway of the park.
Do you have any questions? This came out of public safety, is that right?
Did.
Okay, thank you. If not, we would like to have a second read on this.
Motion for a second read.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read of Bill number 6495 by title only, please?
Number 6495, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance amending Title III of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, and establishing a revised no parking zone on the east side of Brazo Avenue between East Pendleton Avenue and Brentwood Boulevard.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill number 6495 into ordinance form.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller? Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Alderman Erger?
Yes.
By a vote of 8-0, Bill 6495 will become ordinance 5123.
Great, thank you. Next up is Bill number 6496. Can we get a first read by title only, please?
Bill number 6496, first reading, an ordinance amending Title III of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, and establishing a revised no parking zone on the east side of Dorothy Avenue at the intersection with Van Mark Way.
This particular parking restriction came up as part of public safety. Originally, it was folks from the apartments parking there, blocking that T intersection. Since that time, they just didn't block it anymore, or at least we didn't feel that they blocked it anymore. But it has become an issue with the park being open, the playground being open simultaneously. So folks can, or without the restriction, they can park there and then just take the tunnel, you know, at the north side of Manchester. So this would basically, at that T on the east side of Dorothy, effectively keep you from parking about 35 feet north, 35 feet south. I know there's a schematic that wants to take that northern one slightly further north than what I had called out, so.
And what was the last part there? I'm sorry.
There was a discussion about possibly extending it beyond the 35 feet. I know Alderman Gould had brought that to our attention.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Dan about this? Yes.
Explain. So I had submitted a suggestion based on the bigger concern is if, you know, on the north side, if there are cars parked 35 feet from the center line to Joseph, right? Any fire truck may have issue with actually making the radius turn to get into the apartment complex. So what I was considering is, should we consider an amendment to this bill that extends it up to 90 feet from that center line to the north, so that it keeps those cars clear and allow for not only fire trucks, but even moving vehicles to be able to actually navigate that turn without hitting any cars. I had spoken to the police department, or I'm sorry, the fire department at one time when we first started talking about this, and they said that was a concern, and if there were cars there, they just probably have to hit them to get out of the way and make that turn, which I think we should avoid if we can. So that's the amendment, or the suggestion that I had. The question that I would have for our city attorney is, if we amended it, can we do an up to distance and then allow staff to be able to work with the fire department to find out how far they need to go?
Difficulty with that is that when we prosecute someone for violating this, we have to establish that the ordinance calls out the distance,
Okay.
authorizing the area of no parking. So we need a fixed point in
Fixed point.
space.
Okay. I would make a motion that we amend the ordinance.
If I
to-
may.
Go ahead.
If you
Sorry.
want to go to the maximum, and staff believes that a lesser distance would be satisfactory, there's also always the provision for temporary emergency measures and also prosecutorial discretion as to whether or not to prosecute someone for a violation within that differential difference. So I would suggest, if you want to look at the maximum and allow staff to recommend an amendment at a later time, put anybody in jeopardy of being prosecuted and then repealing.
Okay. Well, I will make that motion to go to 90 feet with authorizing staff to make an amendment.
If staff has an amendment, they'll bring it back.
Correct.
So
So you're wanting to amend section 1 from 35 feet to 90 feet?
I believe.
Twice.
Or to the north
Okay.
only, to the north of the center line only.
Are we having Chief Cottrell, you wanted to say something?
So, thank you for bringing this to the attention. The fire department has worked with Public Works. We have been on site. We've performed measurements. Our truck should be the only fire truck responding southbound on Dorothy to enter Van Mark Way. Every other responding truck will enter off of Manchester Road, more than likely. When cars were stacked up there, we always were able to turn into Van Mark Way, always. Getting out, we did have to have cars moved to get out, but getting to the emergency is a priority. We did the measurements, 35 feet does allow us to swing that good. And I am confident with our truck and the turning radius of our truck and the future truck that we have an agreement on to purchase can make that turn at the distance that's specified right now.
I mean, my biggest concern was the safety of the fire truck and being able to access that.
I'll take more real estate, but we've been on site to confirm that swing at the 35 feet.
Okay.
From the city's point of view, is there a downside to extending it to 90 feet? Alderman Plufka?
There's parking in front of a couple of homes that would be disrupted.
Okay.
Not to the north.
No, but to the south, to Manchester, between there and Manchester Road.
But the amendment would only be on the north, extending 90 feet to the
Oh,
north.
I thought you said on both sides.
Nope. Nope.
Okay, so it's just
90 feet on the north side, that's it.
Okay, so
So keeping the southern 35 feet where it is.
So the amendment would be section 1, the paragraph beginning with Dorothy Avenue, the east side of Ford distance of 35 feet north, it would be 90 feet north instead of 35 feet.
That's what I was.
No, I want to make sure we got to understand what the.
That's what I was
Because
recommending.
that's the
but if-
motion on
if-
the table right now.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to stick with that, or are you looking for a second?
I mean, if Chief is confident, that it is what it, I mean, I'm okay with the way it stands then.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Dan? Yeah, oh, Kevin?
I withdraw my motion, yes.
Okay. So the motion is withdrawn. If there's not any other questions, we would like to have a second read, so we can get a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Can we get a second read of Bill number 6496 by title only, please?
Bill number 6496, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance amending Title III of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, and establishing revised no parking zone on the east side of Dorothy Avenue at the intersection with Van Mark Way.
Thank you. Can we get a motion to perfect Bill number 6496 into ordinance form?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie? Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder? Alderman Erger?
Yes.
By a vote of 8 to 0, Bill 6496 will become ordinance number 5124.
Thank you. That brings us to Bill number 6497. Can we get a first read by title only, please?
Bill number 6497, first reading. An ordinance amending Title III of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, and establishing revised no parking zone on the south side of Pendleton, west of Brazo Avenue and adjacent to 2901 Brazo Avenue.
Thank you. Dan?
In this particular case, the resident, I know, came to the last board meeting and brought it up that she is at 2901 Brazo, which is at the corner of Brazo and East Pendleton. Her driveway pad is on the south side of East Pendleton, basically between the alley and Brazo. So whenever folks were parking along that south side, which it is allowed that you can park on the south side, not the north side, but south side, they were blocking driveways. She put up some small barricades, twine or something to that effect, but people would remove it and they'd still block the pad. So what this would allow us to do, we already put it up knowing that we can always remove it, but we put up a sign, no parking here to corner, and it's basically to the south of, or to the west of her pad. So it would basically keep people from blocking that pad all the way up to the corner of Brazo. So you can kind of see there's a circle that says post, that's where the post is in front of that guy wire. And then it keeps that whole south side by her pad open. You know, if somebody does park there, they should be able to get a ticket now.
Okay. Any questions for Dan on this? We would like to have a second read.
For a second reading.
Thank you.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read of Bill number 6497 by title only, please?
Bill number 6497, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance amending Title III of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, and establishing revised no parking zone on the south side of Pendleton, west of Brazos Avenue and adjacent to 2901 Brazos Avenue.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill number 6497 into ordinance form.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims? Yes. Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder? Alderman Erger? By a vote of 8-0, Bill 6497 will become ordinance 5125.
Thank you. Brings us to Bill number 6498. Can we get a first read by title only, please?
Sir. Just a moment. What happened, but the whole thing shut down. Bill number 6498, first reading, an ordinance amending Title IV of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, and establishing revised no parking except by permit zones on the south side of Pendleton Avenue, west of Brazos Avenue, west side of Brazos Avenue, and the alley west of Brazos Avenue.
Thank you. Dan?
This one's a little more challenging in the sense that we do have some streets that are by permit parking only. So what we're trying to do with this is the folks that are residents in that area is to limit the parking to only the residents. And this would be basically on the north end, it would be Anna coming south along the west side of Brazos, going through the intersection of Pendleton, all the way down to the last house on the west, as well as the alley, the east side of the alley. There's no signs in the alley, so anybody could park any which way. The alley, that's behind the homes on Brazos.
So it'd be limited to residential parking only on the west side?
That's what we're trying to do.
Right.
Yeah.
With this ordinance?
Right.
Okay. Any questions for Dan? Yes, Alderman Plufka.
Would these be permits issued by the city that they would place in their cars or on their windshields or?
We were thinking they'd be placards. In years past, it was a sticker, but then if you replace your windshield or sell the car, then I got to give you another sticker. If it's a placard, if you've got a visitor and you park in your garage in the back, in essence, you could give the placard to a grandparent or brother, sister, whoever's parking at an event. You know, I want to give enough that you have enough for your vehicles, but then for special events, I was thinking like 4 per household. There's no procedural documents that I could find from years past as to how many each resident received.
So if I'm a resident in this area and I know that I'm having 3 or 4 cars that are going to be parked in my house for an evening, I would go to Public Works and I would ask for enough permits to cover the cars?
We were going to, most cities actually do it through police, you know,
Okay.
rather than Public Works. I know we'd have to check the occupancy permit though too, just to make sure they don't just come to the police, you know, so what to get with planning.
You'd have to present something that showed you lived on that street and that you.
Correct, yeah, most cities require like a driver's license or utility bill or something to that effect.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions? Alderman Lockmiller.
Question for the city attorney. Mr. O'Keefe, in section 1, the paragraph that says, starts in accordance with, that last sentence, it looks like it states that the only residents that can get this placard are the ones that are parked, or that front the area that's going to be resident-only parking. We've got 3 homes that are already in a no parking area that are directly across the street from this. They wouldn't be eligible for that resident parking permit by the way this reads.
That's correct. Now, I would point out that that is the current language of our resident permit-only set of regulations. That's bracketed to show that it is the current code and not being changed. Only thing being done is adding the paragraphs that are 2 below that. But, so that is the way our permit parking system now operates. A resident only.
How would we go about amending that to include those 3 homes in particular, if they have people over, they already cannot park on that side of the street because it's no parking already. How do we get them to be able, if they have visitors or whatever, to be able to park across the street, which they probably do already because they can't park in front of their homes? How do we get them included, grab these permits?
Sorry, which segment of the road is this?
Going to be the 2800 block of Brazo.
The houses just south of the apartments.
I got 2838 through 2846 Brezzo.
Exactly, it's 2838, 2842, and 2846.
So it would be the first amendment, the Brazo Avenue, west side, 2801 through 2847. That's the area. Okay.
East side is
side,
the
isn't
issue.
it?
Just,
Side of Brazo,
yeah.
just west of our
Right.
playground.
I would think we'd probably want to add a sentence there saying that folks on the east side of Brazo would be eligible for a permit. Yes?
I'd like to make that motion that residents on the east side of Brazo in the 2800 block be eligible for these parking permits.
Okay. Alderman Plufka.
I just have a question about it, just for clarification. Those are the only 4 homes on 3 homes on Brazo that are on the east side of Brazo, right?
That's correct.
So couldn't the change just simply be removing the word west side and just say along Brazo Avenue from 2801 to 2925? Oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't believe it's the intent of the maker to allow
Oh, you're
parking
right, you're
on the
right.
east side.
Okay, I understand. All right.
Allow the homes
So I think it would be, the language for the motion would be that, to add at the end of the current text, provided however, that properties on the east side of the 2800 block of Brazo Avenue would be eligible to be issued resident parking passes, parking, permits.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Weggie.
This language wouldn't accidentally allow people that live in the apartments there to get passes as well, would it?
I don't know. I don't know where they are or how they're addressed.
It looks like their address is Brentshire Walk, so I would assume not.
All right.
It's not a Brazo address. As conversely, you could actually name the 3 residences by address, make the amendment to that effect, if that's the concern.
Well, I just want to make sure there's not a weird
Right.
loophole here where everybody can go get 4 parking passes that lives in
Right.
the apartments.
Right.
What are the addresses?
Anybody know the 3 addresses?
2838, 2842, 2846, Brazo.
Okay, so we have an amendment that has been seconded to amend Bill number 6498 by adding the language that we discussed, which would essentially allow those 3 residences that are on the east side of Brazo to also be able to participate in the residential parking permit process. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor of that amendment?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the amendment passes. So now we would like to have a second read on the bill as amended. Can we get a motion to that effect, please? Any discussion on the motion for a second read? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read of Bill number 6498 by title only, please, as amended?
Bill number 6498 as amended, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance amending Title IV of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, and establishing revised no parking except by permit zones on the south side of Pendleton Avenue, west of Brazos Avenue, west side of Brazos Avenue, and the alley west of Brazos Avenue.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill number 6498 as amended.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims? Yes. Alderman Lockmiller? Yes. Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Alderman Erger?
Yes.
By a vote of 8-0, Bill 6498 as amended will become ordinance 5126.
Thank you. And that brings us to the final bill dealing with parking issues tonight, and that is Bill number 6499. Can we get a first read by title only, please?
Bill number 6499, an ordinance enacting emergency measures to construct temporary parking for Brentwood Park.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know Eric and I co-authored this one, so basically, we looked at two different means and methods. One would be using Public Works and trying to get these parking lots established, so it would be fabric and then rock on top, so about 6 inches of rock. These are the two temporary lots that would be north and south of the tunnel, or of Manchester Road to the east of the tunnel. So the one on the north side is a little bit smaller. It's where the American Locksmith used to be. The one on the south side, right now it's just green space. The city owns that, or will own it. You know, MoDOT actually owns it technically, and they're gonna give title back to us. Same thing with the north side. But basically, we're looking at either Castle or us. It's actually, Castle can get it done a lot quicker. We've looked at other contractors, but basically they can do it in a 2-week turnaround. We don't have the equipment. We'd have to rent the equipment to do it. We actually did look at those plastic paving grids. It's just really expensive to do, so we know we want to do this as quickly as possible and as cheap as possible. So the idea would be to do the fabric and gravel that we could actually establish some parking. Did include parking stops, so like you'd see in a parking lot, whether it's Target or whatever, but, you know, basically assigned parking. So that way people aren't, you know, parking too far one way or another. So looks like you can get, I believe it was like 104-ish, like 60 something on one side and like 30 on the other.
And the timeline on this is?
If you were to use the outside contractor, around 2 weeks. Looking at our own time schedule, we were thinking anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks because we don't have enough staff to put on both sides of the road like they do. We would just work on one side and then the other.
Okay, but the bill, as it's written, is that calling out for the city to do this, or is it calling for Castle to do it? Okay.
Yes.
So if the bill doesn't pass, then we're gonna move forward with it, but it'll be the city staff that will be doing it.
Correct. The price is about the same. It's $99,000 for them and it was like 98 for us. So it's about a wash. It's just, you know, do you want to get it done in 2 weeks or do you want to wait over a month?
Okay. Alderman Weggie?
Yeah, hey, Dan, so the access via Bompart Road, which is great, but we will need a lot of signs to explain to people what to do there, right? Because you're going to go past the
Right.
building and then you take a right kind of
Yeah,
through
I
like
believe
an
Eric's
alley
already
in the back
looked
and
at
then you
that.
pop
Yeah,
in
we've
there.
already started putting, mocking up some signage that we're going to give to Michelle to approve, and then hopefully we can get that ordered tomorrow.
Do we need to include the cost of those or anything? Because I assume those are going to be
that-
basically pretty permanent signs.
That'll come out of my budget.
Okay. And then I mean, a concern, I think we got to do this for speed, but I am worried about the dust of the gravel, especially on the north side. That's right next to the houses. I'm not as concerned on the south side, but certainly understand the cost of the true grid. So I think this is the right way to go forward now, but we may need to revisit.
One of the things we did look at was making sure we followed the setback on the north side, so we'd be at least 25 feet away from that house on Dorothy. That should help a little bit, but also we'll have staff getting out there with their water, with our water tank on a regular basis, kind of wet it down.
Yeah, okay.
Alderman Plufka.
Castle available to start tomorrow?
Castle said they could start tomorrow. I'm not sure if Dan's got the permit from MoDOT. Is that all good?
It's on the way, you know.
But we need the permit
Sufficient
from.
paper to, because they technically have title right now.
Yeah, and then we also needed a floodplain permit, which we've already submitted and is, I think, almost ready to be approved, so we're just waiting for that. But Castle said they could start tomorrow. Weather permitting, they think 2 weeks.
Alderman Gould.
Yes, I know there was some concern about doing this with gravel because maybe our codes don't allow it for after a certain amount of time. Are we gonna have to address this with a more permanent structure within a certain period of time?
I mean, the temporary parking ordinance is for 180 days. At that time, we can come back and ask for another 180 days for an extension on that. I think that's what we discussed at the last board meeting, is that we'd have to come back in 180 days as we continue to figure out other solutions as well.
And then is the work that we would do for the temporary, gravel, is that work that would be usable if we were to put in later a more permanent system like the grids or?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Dan, what Dan and I talked about is if you do the true grid, it can go right on top of the gravel that's on there now. Even if you did an asphalt or other type of permanent parking, you'd still need a level of rock underneath, so that gravel would just kind of start as the base layer.
I guess what I'm getting at is I don't want to, I don't want to pay for work and then in 180 days or another 180 extension, we're coming back and having to rip all that work up and pay more money to do something permanent. So I think we need to be smart about either we figure out a way to do, whether it's the true grids or now, or if they can be added later and it doesn't significantly increase the cost of what it would be done anyway, I'm fine with that. I don't want to be double hit, is what I'm saying.
The true grid's going to cost, as Dan said, about another $125,000. So to do it on both sides, that's one of the reasons why I recommended against it. This is what we gave you is the quickest way to get temporary parking, which is what we were authorized and addressed and instructed to do at the last board meeting. So this is the best way to get you temporary parking for this new park in a matter of weeks instead of going through month-long processes.
So when we design and construct this, can we do it with a mindfulness about making it, if we decide that we want to make it more permanent, whether by asphalt or true grid system later,
Yeah, as we said, that if we went with a true grid, we can go right on top of what's currently on there. We might have to level out a little bit, we might have to roll it again, but we should be able to go straight to a different product.
Alderman Tice.
So I don't know at what point it will happen, but I'm really hopeful that we don't have permanent parking lots right along Manchester Road. So I'm hoping this is I don't think it's 180 days temporary, but I'm really hoping that this is, that us talking about permanently putting 2 paved parking lots right there is really not something we're talking about.
I want to clarify. I don't disagree with you. We should have permeable solutions, for that. There's no reason to do that. I think we can't guarantee when that might happen or if that might happen. So, we can't wait, and I just don't want to be here every 180 days asking for an extension for ourselves and kind of be backed into a corner.
I mean, I think the two things on that topic is, one is part of the issue we have is that it's difficult to get across Brentwood Boulevard right now for all the parking we have along Russell. That parking along Russell is a 2.5-minute walk to the front of the park. Once we can get the light in and be done or get across, that'll be a good solution as well. And we even have those lots on Russell. If we wanted to make them a more permanent solution, we could do that as well. We are also looking at a more permanent solution. We keep calling it the Crescent. We've been talking to Jacobs about design. I just got design back from them yesterday. We'll be talking about that at Public Works. Again, the question of how quickly can we implement that depends on what the city wants to do in that area. If it wants to, since it's going to be a more permanent solution, we have to make sure we design it right, make sure we handle the water correctly, and do all that, which does take a little bit more time than throwing down gravel, which is why we were instructed to do this first and then focus on the more permanent solution once we got this done.
Anyone else? If not, we would like to have a second read on this tonight, so we need a motion for that.
Motion for second read.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read of Bill number 6499 by title only, please?
Bill number 6499, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance enacting emergency measures to construct temporary parking for Brentwood Park.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill number 6499 into ordinance form.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka? Alderwoman Tice? Yes. Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Alderman Erger? By a vote of 8-0, Bill 6498 will become ordinance 5127.
Thank you. Next up is citizen comments. Anybody in the public here to address the board? Now is the time to do so. We just ask you come to the podium and state your name and your address, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes. Anyone online?
Yes, Karen Smith is online.
Okay, let's give this a shot. Karen? Karen, can you hear us? Can we hear you?
I can hear you.
We hear you too. If you can speak up just a little bit.
Okay, great. I had wanted to speak before you all passed Resolution 6495, but I think my comments probably are outside of what that specific resolution was about. I had just shared some pictures and concerns in regards to pedestrians crossing High School in Harrison with the aldermen, just to inform some of the decision-making around, safety issues that we have at that intersection. And then, to expound on that, it is also a concern for drivers as well. When you pull up Harrison going westbound to that intersection, you really can't see cars coming northbound or southbound, so it's difficult to make a right or a left when there's congestion and parking on both sides of High School. And also, I don't know, that parking on the west side of High School in front of McGrath School, I don't know if that's the city's or the schools. Prior to the McGrath putting an egress there and changing the location of the school on the property, that was used for residential parking as well as just basic public parking. The school used it for when they had some soccer games on the field that was there. But now the school has sort of taken that over. They have cones out there, kind of restricting others from parking there, and then sometimes there's buses parking there, which just adds to the congestion and kind of the safety issues. I know ideally maybe High School parking would be more limited, but there's also residents that live along High School, so I'm concerned about hurting their flexibility and having access to parking. And of course, maybe when Mark Twain reopens, some of this congestion will go away, but I think before that egress was granted, the neighborhood shared their concerns about the current safety issues that we had before that egress was granted, and unfortunately it's just gotten worse. So anything that you can do to help mitigate it would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anyone else, Kelly? Is that it? Okay, thanks. Then we do have a request to go into closed session tonight pursuant to RS Mo 610.021, subsections 1 and 3. Can we get a motion to that effect?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, can we get a roll call, please?
Alderman Plufka? Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims? Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Alderman Erger? Motion carries by a vote of 8-0.
Great, thank you. We will reconvene in the